You know what you should do.
Study, work out, write, build the skill. Do the deep work, fix the habit. But you don't do it. Not because you don't care, because starting feels heavy. And the worst part is this: once you don't start, the guilt grows. The day gets messy, your confidence drops, and tomorrow feels even harder. So you keep waiting for the perfect mood. The problem is your life doesn't change when your mood changes. It changes when you start, even with the wrong mood. High performers don't have magical motivation. They have a better start system. And one of the simplest systems that actually works is the 5-minute rule. Not the fake version people quote, the real version. In this video, I'll explain why starting is the hardest part, what your brain is doing in that moment, and how to use a 5-minute start rule that gets you moving without relying on hype, willpower, or perfect conditions. Chapter 1. The start is harder than the work because your brain is predicting pain. Most people think they avoid tasks because they're lazy. What's actually happening is prediction. Before you start, your brain simulates effort. It imagines confusion, boredom, stress, time passing, failure, friction, uncertainty. And then it tries to protect you. It offers alternatives. Do it later. Check something first. Just relax. You're tired. You'll do better tomorrow. Let's get ready first. Those alternatives are not random. They are emotional escape routes. Because the start contains uncertainty. Once you're in motion, uncertainty drops. The task becomes real. The next step becomes clearer. But before you start, everything feels vague and heavy. So your brain resists. This is why starting a 30-minute session can feel harder than continuing it. The pain is not the work. The pain is the transition from comfort to effort. High performers don't fight this by trying to feel motivated. They lower the cost of transition. That's what the 5-minute rule is really for. Chapter 2. Most people fail because they demand full commitment before they move. Here's the mistake. You tell yourself you have to do the whole thing. Study for 2 hours. Write the full script. Finish the workout. Clean the whole room. Do the entire project. So your brain hears that and goes, no. Because full commitment feels like a trap. It feels like you're signing a contract with pain. And your brain is allergic to contracts like that. So it stalls. This is why the 5-minute rule works. It removes the contract. You are not committing to the full task. You are committing to starting for 5 minutes. That's it. Your brain can tolerate that. Because 5 minutes doesn't feel like a life sentence. 5 minutes feels like a test. And that matters. Because your brain is more willing to experiment than to commit. So the 5-minute rule is not a productivity hack. It's a negotiation hack with your own nervous system. Chapter 3. Momentum is stronger than motivation. Most people think motivation creates action, sometimes. But more often, action creates motivation. Once you start, something changes. Clarity increases, resistance drops, the task feels less scary, progress becomes visible. That creates momentum. And momentum is one of the strongest psychological forces in performance. It's easier to keep going than to start again. That's why people can scroll for 40 minutes without wanting to. They started, then momentum took over. The same principle can work for you if you start the right thing. When you begin, you create friction in a new direction. You shift state, from passive to active, from avoidance to engagement, from fear to process. That shift is often all you need, not every time, but often enough to change your life. High performers don't wait for motivation first. They build momentum deliberately. They know starting is the gateway. So they train starting. Chapter 4. The 5-minute rule only works if you make it specific. Here's why most people say I tried that and it didn't work. They did the vague version. Okay, I'll do it for 5 minutes. Then they sit there and still don't know what to do because the first step isn't defined. So the brain gets friction again and it quits. The real 5-minute rule has a requirement. You must define the first action so clearly that it's almost stupid. Not work on my project. Instead, open the document and write the title. Write the first sentence. Outline 3 bullet points. Do 1 problem. Read 1 page and explain it. Put on gym clothes and do 10 push-ups. Set a timer and clean 1 surface. When the first action is clear, your brain has less uncertainty. Less uncertainty equals less resistance. That's why the start becomes possible. Your first 5 minutes should be a starter drill. A tiny action that builds motion. High performers do this naturally. They make the first move easy. Then let momentum carry the session. Chapter 5. You need a stop rule to build trust with yourself. Here's the part nobody teaches. The 5-minute rule works best when your brain trusts it. But if every time you start, you force yourself into a long, painful session, your brain learns starting is a trap. Then it resists harder next time. So you need a stop rule, a real one. You can stop after 5 minutes if you truly want to. No guilt, no bargaining, no self-attack. Why? Because the rule is designed to build trust. I'm not forcing you to suffer. I'm just asking you to start. That trust reduces resistance long term. And ironically, when you give yourself permission to stop after 5 minutes, you usually keep going. Because now the task is no longer a threat, it's an option. But even if you stop sometimes, you still win. Because you trained the most important skill, starting. Consistency is built from starts, not perfect sessions. High performers protect this principle. They would rather do a small start every day than rely on rare, heroic bursts. That's how they become consistent without drama. So here's the exact method you can use today. The real 5-minute rule. Step 1, choose one task only. Not 10, 1. Step 2, define a tiny first action. So small it feels almost too easy. Step 3, set a timer for 5 minutes. No phone, no switching. Step 4, do only the starter drill. Your job is motion, not perfection. Step 5, at 5 minutes decide continue or stop. If you stop, you log it as a win anyway because you started. If you continue, great, ride the momentum. Then add one final piece, track it. On your scoreboard, start reps completed. That's it. Because what gets tracked gets trained. If you track starts, you become a person who starts. And once you become that person, everything changes. Because most people aren't losing because they can't do the work. They're losing because they can't start consistently. So let's recap before your brain tries to wait for motivation again. Starting feels hard because your brain predicts pain and uncertainty. You fail when you demand full commitment up front. Momentum is stronger than motivation. The 5-minute rule only works when the first action is specific. And you need a stop rule to build trust with yourself. This is great news, because it means discipline isn't some rare personality trait. It's a skill, and starting is the foundation skill. Train starts, build momentum, stack small wins, and you'll wake up one day and realize your old self, the one who couldn't get going, is gone. But here's the thing though, even if you start, you can still get derailed when your brain hits the first discomfort and tries to escape. That's why the next video is the missing piece. How to stay when it gets uncomfortable, the urge surfing skill. Watch that next.